Hello again. Um, so yeah, it's actually been quite a long time since I've taken since I've taken a walk and recorded it, for one, as well as just taking a walk in general, really. I mean, I've taken a walk maybe a few weeks ago. I've taken a walk a few times here and there, not too long. Um, but I've definitely not taken a night walk in a very long time. You know, relatively long. It hasn't been like a year, as far as I remember. I don't think it's been like a year, but it's been probably definitely over half a year, I would think, since I've taken a night walk, and even longer since I've taken a night walk and made a recording during that or whatever. And yeah, right now it's not exactly you know, for the spring, since it's like early May, it's not exactly uh, as characteristically warm in temperature as I was normally expect around here. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's almost like a fairly warm fall or like even a winter day, night, whatever. Like, yeah, it's not exactly as it doesn't feel like May. That's what I'll say. But it's comfortable enough. It's comfortable enough. It was. I'm surprised it's not raining right now because it was raining earlier, but I guess that's good. It's about I think 11, probably like 11:40 p.m. And yeah, I decided to take this night walk, not just for uh, i- the experience of it or whatever, not just for that. I did have some things I wanted to talk about, and I don't know, decided that in this format or whatever, the I figured it was a decent way to do it or comfortable way or whatever. Like I said, I hadn't done a night walk in a while, and I forgot how much I do quite like the fairly late nights, even in the well, I mean, especially in the warmer months or whatever, but just the nights in general where it's weird. It feels like that word is now probably used way too much. Liminal space or whatever, almost like it's just all this like big open, fairly big open space. This ain't like uh, when I went to Wisconsin or whatever. This ain't like that where they just have these huge, just stretches of like flat land or whatever. They just like your eyes get that infinite never-ending hallway effect. That's just how flat and far it would just span. Uh, Here in Jersey or whatever, we get like decent amount of decent amount of hills, I guess you could say. It doesn't like look mountainous or anything, that's for sure. It's just there's no like super significant, just like straight flat land like for miles and miles, just past your eyes horizon or whatever. But yeah, it just gives this feeling of like being in this like open space, but at the same time feeling private. Even though, yeah, there's cars going by and stuff like that, but there's almost not besides the cars, there's almost nobody around, and the cars are significantly lower, like drastically lower than in the day and stuff. It's just it's an interesting feeling going by these buildings and stuff. And this particular spot that I like to just kind of pace around this, what do they call these? The place where they have funerals, or whatever they, those places, the funeral places. Just this big, empty parking lot. Yeah, just a nice, just a nice kind of feeling that I like. The, strange privacy of it, even though you're in, like, a big, exposed, open kind of, like, area. Privacy or seclusion in a way, even though it's weird, because when I'm in my, house, in the house, sometimes the seclusion can be not something that feels great, but, in this moment, I guess it's different, because I haven't experienced it in a while, and just kind of the nice outside air, I haven't done it in a while, so it's, an interesting, nice feeling. I don't know why I stopped after a while doing a lot of my, walks and talks and stuff. I guess I just kind of ran, not so much that I ran out of stuff to say, I just kind of didn't feel the need to, say as much as I was, at that time. So I just kind of stopped doing it as often, or like for a good many months straight. But also just haven't been going on walks and stuff. I can't really say for that. I just haven't felt like going out, and it just hasn't been as nice temperature-wise as I like, I guess, where it's like a decent, not a decent amount warmer, but like a good amount warmer than this. I like when it feels fairly warm, especially at night kind of thing, where I don't have to necessarily wear a jacket to be comfortable, I guess. That's at least been my excuse why I haven't been going on as many walks and stuff. But yeah, that's not the main reason that I went on this walk, and talk, whatever, walk and talk. I did want to talk about some other things that are not as positive, I guess you could say, or whatever. I mean, I didn't expect to talk for like 8 minutes there, just about the experience I was just having in this moment. But I figured, it was a pretty nice, something I hadn't experienced in a while, so I was like, what the heck. And this other thing I want to talk about is, at least, there is a few things I will try to talk about. I will try to talk about, but one of the main reasons I wanted to talk in this moment was for this one thing. But like I said, I'm going to talk not just about this thing, so it's not going to be the entire video. But if you are not interested in hearing somewhat negative things said about somebody, basically an adult talking about a grown man talking shit about another grown man, basically. Like, if you don't want to hear that, then you can skip. I'll probably have timestamps for this one, just because. Skip to the next timestamp, or just, you don't have to watch the video, obviously. It's just, for a little bit, I'm going to be talking shit about another man, and I understand if people don't care to hear about that because it is stupid. But yeah. So this other man that I'm going to be talking shit about is probably a pretty well-known name that I've mentioned often on this channel or whatever, that I've mentioned often, and that is Uncanny Deduction, or Christoph, as his name is. And you might be saying, why am I going to be talking shit about him? Well, the reason is because let's say maybe 4-5 days ago, or from this video being recorded, May 4th it is. It's almost May 5th technically, but May 4th, it's like 4 or 5 days ago, he uploaded a video that was basically a direct reply, I would say, to a video, the previous video that I uploaded just before this one, where I was, well, the idea was to mostly do a response to Rudy's video that he had made just before, just on that same day. I'm drawing a blank at this moment what the topic was exactly, but it was a video that I made primarily as a response to that. At least initially that was the intention. And then I just kind of went off on a few other tangents and stuff because I hadn't talked about anything in a while. Uploaded a video, so I figured, might as well just talk about stuff I felt like talking about. But in that, I had mentioned Christoph a few times, and I didn't think it was primarily anything negative, but, there's a few things where I disagreed, obviously, with certain things that he believes in or whatever, and certain, just how any kind of conversation would, I guess, go, like any not completely trying to be neutral conversation or whatever. I was just saying, like, what I normally would say. And in saying some of this stuff, like I said, I didn't think that it was, like, particularly negative. Like, just if I was talking in that tone or in that kind of way to somebody else, I would have just been like, how would somebody be offended or whatever? Like, it wasn't intending to be, like, a necessarily offensive thing. The only person that I talked, like, especially shit about in that moment was the other guy, Chiron Last, or whatever, and that's just what I thought about the guy. I'm like, this guy is a fucking, a bullshitter, or whatever. He's just fucking, yeah, I don't know, I just talked shit about that guy, mostly. But from that, I guess that I don't know how much Christoph actually watched of the video, because it was a long video. It was mostly just me kind of talking about a bunch of shit. But from that video, and from the video that he made almost a day after that I uploaded that video, I knew 100%. I'm not even going to say like 95%. I know 100% that he was making almost a direct response to the video that I made because of the things that he was talking about and the ways that he was talking about them or whatever. Which, is fine. But the thing is that he was clearly annoyed or like angry in some ways he was like angry or offended by the things that I'd said. And I was just like, what the hell? Like, I didn't I didn't intend this. I didn't think I'd said anything particularly offensive that would make him all pissed off. And I was like, well, what the fuck? And after watching that, I was pretty annoyed, because I was just like, hey, thinking, like, what the fuck? This guy is fucking pissed off at me for saying, for just, basically just saying not much. And from what, at least that I'm remembering, like I said, I was much more, my, my emotions were more, fiery at the time. When I initially watched this video, I was much more like, what the fuck is with this asshole? And I was annoyed, because I was like, dude, what the fuck? Excuse me. But now that it's been a few days, it's funny how it's funny how with time, the fiery, the emotions, or whatever, the passion of emotions, it gets quenched or quelled so much more with time. And I was even considering not even making this video, just because I was like, what the fuck's the point? I know what my decision is or whatever, but I was just still thinking about it. I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna make fucking so much echoes over here with this building. I'm just gonna make a amends with it or whatever, or just make a statement about it. Get it off my chest, get it off my mind, and just be done with it after that. But I'm trying to collect my thoughts here, exactly what I wanted to say about this. But basically, whatever shit he was saying is that he was like acting goofy or whatever, but it was clear that he was like upset or pissed off about what was said, kind of shit. And oh yeah, he mentioned that he mentioned that he'd unsubscribed, said the video was low effort and shit, even though that was basically like most of my other videos. So, that's clearly not the actual reason. But I knew that was even more proof that he's talking about my video, that specifically, because I checked that other channel, or whatever, this channel that I upload these videos on, and it went down from like 91 subscribers to like 90, and I was like, I wonder who that was. And it turns out, like, less than a day after, when he uploaded that, I was like, oh, I see, it was him. Okay. And it's like, hey, fair enough. But the reasons that he did it, I'm just like, dude, what the fuck? So then after I was like pissed off a little bit, I was like, dude, after that video, I was just thinking, what a fucking asshole. Just the way that he reacted to it. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Fuck that then. I'm gonna unsubscribe to that as well, because I'm just sick of hearing his videos too, honestly. But I also just wanted to say that I think Christoph is a coward, because you didn't... I'm saying you as if I'm addressing him, but he's probably not listening to this. But I think he's a coward, because he didn't say my name. He didn't say anything. He didn't directly address what he was actually referring to. He was purposely obfuscating the fact that he was responding basically directly to my video specifically. So he instead just made it like, all these people are making shitty, lazy videos and all this crap, and he's sick of the watching them, they're boring and all this crap. And now he's pissed off how they disagree with him, essentially, or whatever shit he was talking about. But the main thing that I realized was that this guy is way more of a narcissist than I thought he was. Even that I thought he was beforehand. I thought he's way more of a narcissist than I thought he was even before before this happened or whatever. Because I was like, wait a minute, he is acting the exact same way that he did in the last time that we had a little of an argument or whatever shit. We got in a little argument here, and he acted the exact same way too with that shit. Is that he wouldn't say my name, who he was referring to, who he was pissed off at, what I said. He was just a fucking pussy, and he had to say, keep that, just be like, oh, just talk in a generic sense, like, oh yeah, this person, this thing. Couldn't just say my name or any shit like that. Act like a man, and just fucking say who he's addressing specifically. For one, that's me just basically saying, hey man, you're a fucking coward, for one. But that really doesn't matter. But the other one that matters more is that I realized how much of a fucking narcissist he is. Because the first time that we got in a argument, or whatever you want to call it, a dispute, I guess that would be a better word maybe. We got in a dispute was over a video that I would say was possibly could be construed as more offensive, just because it was specifically a direct response to him after he'd made that video, after he just released his book. And he was basically pissed off, and he was basically just fucking crying like a baby about how he wasn't getting enough attention that he felt that he deserved or expected for having just released his book like 2 days prior. And he was bitching about that. And then I made the response to that saying, like, hey, just so you know, like, not just to be a complete dick, but that was just like how I worded it, is that, nobody cares as much as you do ever about your own thing. The only person that cares more about your thing is you. Or the most about your thing is you. That's essentially what I was saying, and I don't think that can be really refuted. If you write something, if you make something, if you develop something, whatever, you are going to care about that way more than anybody else will. So expecting other people to care about that thing just for the sake of it, because you think and you feel that you've put in so much effort into it, or that you've put so much effort into it and everything, that does not entitle you to other people's praise and their attention, regard, whatever. That's essentially what I was saying. And I don't think anybody could really dispute that, because that's just how it is. Like, I mean, sure, there'll be cases, like I said, where some people care more than the original creator or whatever, but vast majority of the time, nobody cares as much as you will. And he was upset about this, so he made a response, sort of, or he said in a few, like maybe 2 videos afterward, and being a pussy, he removed that video where he was being a bitch, where he was bitching. So the response that I made, the video, he deleted that. And, I thought that was a pussy thing to do even at the time, but I didn't, like, directly just say that, because kind of a dick thing to say. But now that I'm just like, hey, fuck this guy, I'm saying that was a fucking bitch thing to do. But with that, I realized when I made a response afterwards to that, to try and clarify what I had said, because I was under the assumption that I was talking to somebody that was actually somewhat reasonable, at least to some extent. But now I've realized and confirmed to myself that no, this person is not reasonable, nor do they act in a reasonable way or whatever, behave in a reasonable way. Because why? Because I talked about a decent, just like I normally do, I go on like tangents and stuff. I talk about multiple things in one video. And I switch topics, I switch subjects or whatever pretty frequently, but I even though I can be hard to follow sometimes, I think I'm fairly clear when I change the subjects generally. So, I'm not saying that I'm 100% clear, it's just I think I'm clear enough that somebody can at least follow what I'm saying, generally. But what I learned with Christoph is that he can't do that, which makes me come to the conclusion that he's just a straight up narcissist, because as soon as his name was mentioned in that video, he just hyper-focused on anything that was said after that fact, and immediately, what's the word? He immediately connected it to himself. So if I said something, if I said Christoph, and then 20 minutes later, I had said, or even the whole video afterwards, if I said his name, but then later on I clearly mentioned somebody else by name or something, like another completely other person, anything that I said about that other person, or anything I said after that fact, he immediately will associate it with me saying it to him, or directly to him, just because he was mentioned one time in the video or something like that. Like, that is what I found. And that's what I realized that was the quote-unquote misunderstanding, which that's why I made so clear in the response video afterwards. By the way, when I'm changing subjects, I'm not talking about you anymore. So unless I did that, that's the only time that he got it, I guess. But then I realized that just a few days ago, with that video that he uploaded and the video that I uploaded, is that he did the exact same behavior, which I guess shouldn't be too surprising, because people are generally very predictable in their behavioral patterns and stuff. But he did the exact same thing in that case, because I didn't even mention him like that. I mentioned him a few times, but I barely said anything directly, like, offensive about him or anything. Like, I disagree with some of his philosophies or whatever, like, not even that harshly. But, like, say the stuff that I said about Chiron last, where I basically just called the guy a fucking asshole, and, like, the guy might not even exist just because he doesn't show his face. Christoph associated that entire thing that I said about not him, I said about Chiron last, he associated that entire thing with himself because I'd mentioned his name at least one time in the video. So that is just me seeing that pattern that, okay, Christoph is, I don't know what else to call it. Is that he is a fucking narcissist, because as soon as his name is mentioned one time, he immediately hyperfocuses anything else that is said in that video. That's about him. That is him. That is what he thinks, apparently. He's done it twice, and he's done it more than twice, actually. Like, twice to just me. But he's done it at least 3 or more other times, including 3 or more other times to others, because I realize now, I'm like, wait a minute, he did this similar shit, even though I don't really have direct reference in this one, but he did the similar shit when he was saying that he was going to stop talking about certain topics, or he was going to start purposely obfuscating and being secretive with certain things that he says and everything. He doesn't want to talk about certain things because people were basically taking taking things that he'd said, and he believes rephrasing it and using it in their own videos, channels that I guess were bigger than his, more subscribers, whatever shit, and rephrasing it and then saying that they made it, kind of thing, like taking his credit. Supposedly, he's the only one who ever thought of the things that he's ever said. That's how he feels, and maybe that's true in some cases, but I just am realizing now with how much of a narcissist I found that he is that, you know what? I think he was being delusional with that shit, because basically he's kind of acting like those people with the gang stalking mentality, or whatever, the people that think that they're being gang stalked and stuff. Like, there's people that are specifically targeting them and spying on them and stalking them and stuff. He thinks that all these people are watching him and taking his ideas directly. Ironically, even though he is somebody who believes in that there is no creativity or whatever, that everybody is going on a certain frequency, that everybody is just going on by a certain destiny or whatever, just doing whatever, based on whatever he talks about, the fractal stuff with Detroit and everything. Yet he believes that, yet he's also saying that these other people, they couldn't have thought of something at the same time as him, even though that's, basically how a fractal kind of thing would work. No, that they were just listening to him and then stealing his ideas and then taking his credit. Which, at the time I was like, yeah, maybe, but now that I realize, like, how he is, no, I'm pretty sure that he was just being delusional there. He was just being a narcissist, as I said. And, yeah, I mean, that was the big thing that I started thinking, like, man, what is up with this guy? When he, got so pissed off about his book not doing as well as he expected it to and shit like that. But then he would just make these videos where he would just be insulting the people that watch him, or his viewers, whatever. He'd just be insulting. He'd be insulting people. And, I'm not saying I don't insult people, but just doing a broad stroke of all the people who, like, watch him, like, saying, are you people, like, all retarded and stuff, just because they don't comment on his videos, they don't give him the attention that he thinks he deserves and he wants, and to me, just acting like a fucking jackass, like, similar to this Chiron last douchebag, saying, oh, most of my viewers are NPCs, and, hey, looking at his comments, seeing how many people still suck this guy's ass, that just fucking is complete fucking, I don't even know what to say, like, a complete fucking sham idiot. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's right in some ways, but, like, at the same time, it just shows how little he cares about anybody else, which is, I guess, fair enough, but then it makes you wonder, like, dude, if you think that way about your viewers or whoever, other people, just in general, why do you think that you have some special entitlement that people should pay any regards and give you any attention in the same ways? Like, why do you think you deserve that same shit? I don't know. That's just, to me, that just seems like a common sense logic there. Like, if you're going to treat the people like shit, well, then why should they treat you any better or whatever? Why should they give you attention? And why do you care so much about attention? Because clearly he does. Like, he only sucks the ass of people that have more subscribers than him, or like some equal amount. And I don't give a fuck about the subscriber count crap. I'm just saying that I was surprised to hear the few times when I was still listening to Christoph. I was like, why does this guy care so much about the stupid subscriber count? Like, supposedly seeing how this reality works, but then acting like a TikTok thought or whatever, giving a shit about the engagement or the people, how many people, subscribers he has, and how many subscribers, like, other people have Matt. And the only reason that he doesn't disagree with Matt in so many other ways is because Matt has a lot of, that's what I could see, is that Matt has way more subscribers than he and so many other channels and shit. That's how I kind of see it. It's like, dude, so you only give a fuck about that stupid number? Really? I don't know. That just really, this is similar to when I was younger. I've noticed when I was younger, and I noticed things when I was in school and stuff, that I was still like a normie or whatever, going along with all the programming and stuff. But I did, like I said, I did notice certain things, and it made my ears prick up and make me question, like, wait a minute, that's weird, that's contradictory or whatever. Contradictory behavior, that's strange. And I guess my spidey sense in that sense, it pricked up so many times with Christoph in some of his videos. I would just never bring it up or whatever, just because I was like, you know, I would let it slide or let it go under the rug kind of thing. But now that I'm just like, hey, you know what? I'm done with this guy. I'm seeing them and I'm just like, oh, so there was a red flag or whatever. Like, this guy is fucking, I don't know, fucking a narcissist, a sociopath, whatever. And I didn't really want this video to go where it has, I guess, just because I didn't want to talk about it this long. But I'm just a long-winded person. But and I didn't want to be laughing as much, like make it a little bit more serious or whatever shit. But I don't know. I just found it so weird. I was like, this guy is acting so predictably to the way, like, very predictably in his behaviors and consistently, where it's like, oh, so, yeah, he's just a fucking, he's like this. He's like, he just acts like this, and now I can kind of see why he would think that he was reading people's minds or whatever shit, because he really isn't, and he really wasn't. And then he would wonder why the people would be, like, offended, because he would say, like, oh, you're thinking this, and then they would say, no, I'm not. And then, at least in my opinion now, is that, yeah, they probably weren't, dude. Like, you're just fucking narcissistic, as well as, I don't know, you're fucking autistic or some shit. Like, I'm not saying trying to be like a douchebag with the autistic thing, but I don't know how else to say it, is that you can't read social cues or some shit, and so you assume these things that you're reading people's minds, and you're really not, and thinking you know what they're thinking, and you're really not. And you listening to people, like some of my videos, you are thinking that everything that is said was being said about you. As soon as you get mentioned at all, then the entire video becomes about you. Even though I specifically would say, like, you know, I'm changing the subject, or maybe I was obviously, if you could see social cues and are not autistic, I think, you could see that I was changing subjects. And your English isn't that, and his English is not that bad. So I know it's not just a language barrier thing. It's just, I don't know. Is he can't read social cues, so he just made those assumptions that, oh, the entire thing is about me now. So anything negative that was said was about him. That's how he feels. But yeah, getting to the end of talking shit about that is that, as is pretty obvious, probably I am done watching any of his shit, and I am done talking about him, at least in my videos or whatever. I mean, in the comments, that's fine, I guess, but, like, I'm done mentioning him. I'm done referencing him, not because, it's just because, I don't know, it's fucking, I don't want to be associated with somebody that I see as this much of a fucking narcissist or a douchebag. That's at least how I'm looking at that. But yeah, I just wanted to get that off my chest, that I'm done with this dude. I don't want to bring him up anymore or whatever, because I don't know. It's just, he's not somebody I would want to be friends with. He's not somebody I would want to associate with. And I'm not saying I thought he and I were friends or any shit like that. I mean, I figured there was a sort of mutual respect, because I feel like we think, I guess maybe that's sort of a fallacy or whatever that we all have when we just assume that, oh, just because somebody else has some relatable qualities to me, that being we're on the kind of fringe, we could see certain things about society and all that crap. I figured there's some sort of mutual respect to some extent, but clearly not in the ways that he behaved, not in a not in a, there's a word, but I've lost the word. Not in a not in a back and forth way. It's not a mutual way, I guess. Not in a mutual way. Not a mutual respect going on there. So it's like, yeah, you know what? Fuck that. I'm done with this guy. At least I'm personally done bringing him up in any conversations of my videos that I talk about or whatever. And, I don't know. And with that, I will, after that topic has gone on way longer than it really needed to, but now that I am done with that topic, I will segue onto another topic that might be somewhat, this other thing I wanted to talk about that's kind of can be tangentially related. Now that it's getting a little bit later, I've been standing here a while. My hands are getting quite clammy. That's why I do like it when it's warmer out. But something else I wanted to talk about that might be tangentially related to this is that, and maybe it can explain things, I don't know. I noticed that I seem to have a very, God, I had the word, crap. What was the word? Divisive? Yeah, I think that was the word. I seem to have a very divisive aura or personality or something like that. Because I've noticed that there are, I mean, maybe this is just everybody, I don't know. Well, probably not necessarily. I figure people that don't really express their opinions that much are just straight up always agreeable. They'll probably be more liked, generally, by more people on average, I guess, than people that disagree or go on somewhat more of the fringe way of thinking in some ways. That's probably pretty obvious way to look at certain things, I guess. But me, I seem to have a very divisive, I seem to be on the scale where I'm a pretty divisive personality or give off a divisive kind of aura. Because I've noticed throughout my life, or certain memories from when I was younger and stuff, is that there'd be people that would seem to, at least I would think that I would be a pretty friendly person generally, or a pretty laid-back person, I guess. Definitely an open person. Like, I'm certainly not afraid to share things that probably a lot of people would think that they shouldn't share, I guess, or it's not proper to share certain aspects. But I just do. I'm a pretty open book in that sense. Which is why I don't like people purposely obfuscating things and keeping things like secret or whatever shit. I was just never into that. I never liked that kind of characteristic that some people do or whatever, that behavior. But generally, there was some people that seemed to get along with me very well, and they seemed to like me and stuff. But then there was other people that, at least to me, I mean, I guess this is, like I said, this is not something that, this is probably something that everybody could kind of, like, say, is that, oh yeah, you know, why doesn't this person like me? Or why, why do these people dislike me or some shit like that? You know, I as far as you could tell, or as far as you or I could tell, I didn't do anything to make them dislike me or whatever. Like, you know, there's that stupid episode of Seinfeld, I think, where, you know, I guess Jerry was so obsessed with people liking him that when he heard that somebody doesn't like him, he was just desperately trying to figure out why. Or some shit like that. But that is that is what I noticed when I was younger, is like, there was some people that seemed to really not like me, and I know that there was some completely valid reasons to not like me, because, you know, when we're in school and everything like that, I did bully a few people a few times, but, you know, mostly just because I gave into, like, peer pressure of other douchebags that would bully people. But I had bullied people before. I'd been bullied. I just kind of looked at it as the higher, you know, at least I look at it now, is just the hierarchy of the school system or whatever, the bullshit hierarchy of the school system, where there's the people that bully, there's the people that bully, there's the people that bully, there's the people that get bullied. Sometimes those people bully the people that are below them in the social hierarchy, and then it kind of just goes down from there. And then there's the people at the very bottom that have no social, that are on the bottom of the social ladder or whatever shit, and they just get bullied. And I knew plenty of people like that. We all did, I'm sure, if you went to schools. But yeah, I got bullied, but I had bullied as well. I would argue that I had gotten bullied more than I had bullied others, because after a while, especially once I got to around, like, middle school, I don't know what that'd be called, I guess, like, junior high? Yeah, I guess that would be kind of junior high school, the semesters, the years before the high school, periods. I think around there, that's when I just said, you know what, this is bullshit, trying to be an asshole to people like that, or at least bullying people. I said, you know what, fuck that shit. But there's a few instances where there was, like, just some kids that I was in, say, what was it, my science class? Yeah, science class. What was it? Yeah, it was like my high school, one of my high school science class, yeah, it wasn't physics, it was just like, you know, the generic bullshit science class. And I was in a group with a few of them, and like two of them, this one fucking weird kid, John, you know what, I'm not gonna say fucking straight up these names, but this one kid, John, and not their full names at least. Yeah, this one kid, John, and this other kid, Lawrence, that were, I guess, John was friends with Lawrence or some shit. Yeah, they were friends. And this kid, John, was pretty weird. And Lawrence was, you know, he was kind of weird. Not as weird as this other kid, John, but for whatever reason, the fucking kid Lawrence, like, hated me or some shit. Like, he just fucking looked at me and just fucking, like, hated me. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? like I could just tell that he didn't like me, and I was like, okay, fair enough. And I think I know the reason, at least partially the reason, is because I went to, like, in middle school or some shit, maybe even earlier than that, but I went to, like, a birthday party at his house or some shit, and I was an impulsive kid back then, and I did stupid shit. Um, but what was it? This fucking, like, maybe his younger nephew or whatever, cousin maybe, we were, like, playing on there was a bunch of us playing on this fucking console or some shit, and she just fucking came through and just, like, knocked the entire fucking thing over, like, all the remotes and everything, just fucking ruined the entire thing, just fucking ran through it or some shit. And, okay, I thought it was starting to rain. I was like, oh, fuck. Not yet. But I think I just fucking, impulsive me, I was angry, fucking went up to her and just fucking, like, pushed her over, and then she started crying. And then probably years later, it was like, oh yeah, that fucking kid Kirk, he was the one who fucking did that, or some shit. So that was probably one of the main reasons I would think that he didn't like me, is because I, like, fucking pushed over his cousin, and I'd probably bullied some of his fucking... I don't think I ever bullied John, ever, personally. But maybe I bullied a friend of John or some shit at some point, and then it was just like, oh yeah, this kid Kirks, he's a fucking douchebag. So maybe that's probably the reason, I guess. But it was just interesting that I was like, like there's just like a split, not like that, even that significant a split. There's obviously, it's just a neutrality thing for most, but there were some people that liked me, obviously, that I was friends with or whatever shit, and then there were some people that just really didn't like me. And I guess that's just the case probably for everybody to some extent. Like I said, unless you're just that unopinionated or agreeable kind of person that you don't have any outward opinion expressed, so it's like impossible for people to dislike you kind of thing, because you're not open at all about it. But I just find it interesting that I seem to have that kind of aura that I give off or some shit. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that I have opinions and I have that open book kind of characteristic personality, whatever, where I say things, and I don't really obfuscate things. I don't really, like, I do at the same time. Like, I don't, except just before, but I don't really just try to straight up be like a fucking obnoxious asshole. Like my previous group of friends that I'd cut myself off from quite a long time ago, or many years ago, one of them did say to me or some shit when we were, like, getting more towards the end, where I was just like, I'm sick of hanging out with these guys or whatever. I'm sick of their company and shit. That they would get, or at least the one, he would get angry at me or whatever. He would say, like, why do you laugh or some shit? Like, why do you... Basically, he'd say, why do I laugh in certain situations or something, like in conversations that at least he defined as being more serious than others, or like, I shouldn't laugh because it's a serious thing or some shit, a serious topic. And I guess the assumption was that I was laughing with intent, being like, oh, I'm fucking, I think it's so funny, this is so bullshit, or whatever, like, just basically that the laugh was anything, like it meant something, when it really didn't. It's just me that's just kind of partially that's how I am, where it's just like I don't take that much that seriously, but also the, it's that, as well as, for me, it is just kind of like a nervous thing. Like, sometimes I just laugh if I'm in, like, as, not like a nervous tick or whatever, but I guess maybe that would be the term. like a nervous thing. I'll laugh in that kind of way, but it's not like I'm laughing because I think something is so hysterically funny or something, or I'm laughing like, oh, ha, 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 at you, or, I don't know, he would, like, this friend, he would think that I was laughing with some kind of malicious intent or something like that, or just like, that's just, that was just something that I especially did then or whatever. I would just laugh sometimes or like chuckle or something like that, just in a conversation. And it wasn't because I was trying to be like a douchebag or just not take something seriously. It was just like, I just laughed, especially back then, as like a kind of nervous laugh or whatever, like a nervous tick kind of thing. And, yeah, so they didn't like that about it. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just, why did I bring this up specifically? I was mostly saying it just kind of like, I wonder if there is something about me that is just more divisive or more unlikable to some people or more likable to others. I mean, I guess that's just how, like I said, how it always is. If you're going to be somebody that is fairly open, I wouldn't say that I'm that opinionated. Like, I have opinions, but I feel like not anymore, at least. Maybe I used to. I don't really try to shove my opinions into people's faces because I don't really care to, I guess. Like, I know that it's not going to change anybody and their opinions or some shit if I just shove it into their face. So I wouldn't say that I'm really necessarily opinionated in that sense. I just don't have much filter when I do share my opinions, I guess. I don't know. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring that up as a I don't know, maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. Which, I mean, I guess that's entirely possible because, when I talk about things, I'm seeing it from my perspective, and what I'm saying, just like with anybody, what I'm saying makes complete sense to me, but from somebody else's perspective, it might make no sense at all, or I might be seeming like a complete douchebag. I don't know. It's just, I just wanted to bring that up as a kind of thinking point, is that, I don't know. Maybe I just have an aura that is very easy to dislike, or an aura that makes me come off as a real asshole, which, that's entirely possible. Let's see if I'll talk about one more topic. I did actually bring some paper notes, which I haven't used yet, but I will see if I want to talk about the next thing or not. Okay, yeah. It is starting to get cold. It is pretty late now. It's like 11:35. Oh man, this has gone on way longer than I expected. But screw it. My hands are getting a bit cold, so you know what? As I'm walking home, I will talk about the next topic a little bit, or the other topic I had written down, and that was about Post Nostalgos, or Rudy. His last video, at least the one just before that I'm recording this, that he made before I'm recording this, and that was basically, what was the title? Basically, the title was like how this reality is a simulation, that kind of thing. But he was mostly talking by example from how pictures that we take. What was that? Is that a dead bird? No, I think that's a pine cone, I think. But how pictures that we take and that he's seen and other people have taken, and even things like that, how Oh, man. Oh, shit. Oh, man. This road, besides this one car, it's like 11:30, 11:40 almost. Just fucking completely weird experience. Just nothing. Just this big ass road, not completely dark besides the streetlights, but very dark. Just nobody and nothing. Such an interesting sensation. It's kind of similar to when I had that barefoot walk a while ago. And it was just like I said, almost basically like a spiritual experience, whatever. Like it was just the like the sensation that I was completely alone, even though it seems like, that it should have been a bunch of people around, because I was just going around a neighborhood with a bunch of houses, and there was just not a soul, and I was just walking barefoot very carefully, because my feet were at that point killing me. I was just coming back home from where I went, and I was just tiptoeing basically back very carefully, very methodically, and there was just nobody. This entire block, the entire block was just nobody. It was so weird, but it was so nice at the same time. That's the kind of feeling I get when when it's super late and I just saw like that road just completely empty. Very weird experience, but it's a very weirdly pleasant one at the same time, I guess. It's a strange sensation. Strange, interesting sensation. And it's funny because people seem to be curious, but also like almost afraid of that idea of like liminal spaces or quote unquote like back rooms and stuff like that. But I would almost look at it like, man, that'd be just an interesting feeling, because I've experienced them in reality or whatever. In this simulation, I've experienced that kind of many times, and it's a very interesting, but for me at least, pleasant kind of experience. Like right now, there's like nobody around. Nobody around. It's just the distant sound of maybe a car or a truck. Just streetlights, not a soul. And I do like it a lot. But anyway, what I was talking about with the what Rudy was talking about with the simulation stuff and the images, how basically every image is basically AI generated, because besides the ones that you directly experience with your senses, with your eyes and whatever, if you say record something or take a picture of something, it's being taken in and compiled into something else in a format that is made essentially by AI in a way, like, or by a machine or whatever. It is turning whatever visual stimuli into a digital format. And oh man, now it's getting kind of cold. Oh, at least my hands are fucking freezing. I'm shivering. But You can almost see the moon sticking out from the clouds, though. But yeah, he's not wrong about that. Where images being, I would call it compressed. It's not the right word. It's being transformed, transmuted, almost transmuted, compiled into something that looks like the image that you were originally looking at, but in the end of the day, it really isn't. Like, the fidelity is going to be different or lesser or whatever in that digital translated format, just as if, just how it is. So, in essence, as well as whenever you transfer that to something else, or translate that into something else, either you lower the resolution, or you compress it and then decompress it. I don't know if that's exactly true, but I think that is the case. Like, if you compress something, decompress it, the resolution or the quality goes down, or it becomes less like the original that it came from. It morphs over time. You could take an image that was 4K, or whatever, whatever. You could take an image that was taken in 4K, and then at some point, if you compress it and decompress it, or send it over a million things and translate it in a million ways, that 4K image will then eventually become a 360p or whatever shit. Like, it'll look like a pixelated mess compared to something that almost looked exactly like the original thing. But even then, from that quote-unquote exact original copy that was originally taken, that is still not exactly like what you were looking at, or that you were trying to translate, because it was being digitally translated by, as not necessarily an AI, I guess, but in a similar vein, in a machine language, into something that looks similar, but it's not. And does that lead necessarily to saying that everything, that the reality is AI generated or whatever, or a simulation? I think there's many other aspects, as I've mentioned many times before, that would kind of make this place reveal itself as a kind of simulation in a sense. And that's definitely one of them. That definitely gives it away in a sense. But yeah, it is an interesting thing to think about, is that as whatever media we have, whatever way we have of sharing these things, is that it is essentially being translated by some kind of machine language into something else, and that something else is never going to really be the exact copy of an exact copy clone of that thing it was trying to translate originally. So any image you see online, any image you see from somebody else's from a camera, any image you see from somebody else or whatever that somebody tries to tell you, like, oh, I saw this thing, that's never, going to be an exact copy or clone of what that thing was in that moment, kind of deal. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily what Rudy was trying to make the point with here, but that was just something that I thought about, and I found interesting, to say the least. I think I did have more to say, but I'm getting quite cold, and my nose is getting runny because of that cold, and yeah, I can't really focus on what I want to, or what I did have to say before about it, I guess. But, yeah, it is a very interesting, getting on my street now, so I'm going to quiet down a little bit. But, yeah, that's the video I wanted to make. As per usual, this went on way longer than it needed to, but I guess I'll just see how it is in the end. But yeah, thanks for letting me get that stuff off of my chest. Thanks for me being able to take the opportunity to get out on this night, this nice, cool night, on a walk that I haven't gone on in quite a long time. It's nice to experience something I haven't done in a while. But yeah, and anybody out there, thanks for listening, and take care. I will see you next time.